righty. All set. If you
All right. So I will call to order the meeting of the Waldeboro Recreation Committee on Wednesday, June 2nd at 6 p.m. This is not a normally scheduled meeting. It's taking place because we delayed our May meeting due to some conflicts. So with that, we'll kind of looking at the agenda. I think maybe we'll take it out of order. We'll go through the citizens' comments and then we'll just jump to Julie's update, and that way she doesn't have to stay on for the rest of it. If she'd like to, she obviously could, but is that okay with you, Julie?
Whatever you tell me is fine.
All right, that sounds good. So with that, I guess we'll do some citizen comments if there isn't any. And then from there, we'll just jump into the community center update from there. Okay, Marcus?
Yep, no, I did no citizens comments, so we can go right to 5.1.
All right. So I guess the floor is yours, Julie.
Oh, okay. So I was put on and I just want to get this right, the Coastal Healthcare Alliance Steering Committee. And basically what that is for Maine Health is the Penn Bay practice and the Lincoln Health practice. And as you may know, they were combining practices and looking for space for one building. So I attended the first meeting, and it was extremely informative. And I think you'll all be kind of excited to hear, as I was, what their plans are for Waldeboro. So the plan is to locate the facility in Waldeboro, and we are hopeful that we will be able to accommodate them. And the site that is currently under consideration is behind the ball fields. I should let you know we just hired an environmental group to do a wetlands assessment. There was wetlands getting to that property prior. So we would like a current evaluation. The last evaluation was done about 20 years ago, actually 21 years ago. So the state would like that updated. So what I learned from them is their design committee, and this is all conceptual. They do have somebody working on the concept, an architect, but it is a 22,000 square foot building. Well, I'm sorry, 20,629 square foot 2-story building that they're considering. And that will hold primary, family, medicine, pediatrics, physical therapy, and also a lab for blood draw. There is a discussion about another phase for dental and wellness, and what that wellness component is kind of folds into what we are thinking about doing. And that is very exciting because as they were talking about some of the things that they might want to see, meeting spaces, a gym, things like that, are the exact same things that we are interested in. So there could be a lot of shared spaces between them and us. So that was extremely exciting to me. And I'll be attending their next meeting also. But that's it in a nutshell. I left that meeting, they're serious. Obviously, they still have to go through, they're, just coming out of a unique time with COVID. They still have to do finance, they still have to do budget, but we're moving forward and it's real. And that, to me, is extremely exciting for the town of Waldeboro.
So Julie, where does the town become involved as far as the needs and desires of both this committee and some of the studies that we found as far as the design aspect of it, or is that just way too premature?
Well, I think we have to figure out what we want to see in the building. What exactly you want in the building. And do we want a kitchen? How many meeting rooms are you thinking? I know Marcus has been very clear about the size of the gym. But what other amenities are you looking for? Would you mind sharing gym space? Those are like some of the questions that, yes, we actually have to start seriously talking about. I mean, I know we had discussed basically the first go round what we wanted. And then that was a $6 million project when we put it out for all of our wants. But I think we have to also be aware that construction costs right now are astronomical. I was going to have Marcus reach out to see what they were doing. Marcus, refresh my memory. Where did we get the cost from originally?
Wyndham.
Wyndham, to see if what they've progressed or what their bids came back at. Because I think that could impact how quickly we can go. I don't necessarily think that both projects have to be timed exactly together. They did talk about phasing. Obviously, the dental and the wellness would be a second phase. Their main concern is to get their practitioners in a building. So the second phase would be their dental wellness, which would probably put us right in that timeline too. So we have time, but there is some economics of scale too. When they only have a conceptual architect, I was not clear whether or not this was the architect they're keeping or not. I haven't had that discussion with anyone. And of course, we have to make sure what the wetlands delineation will say. That will determine how big of buildings we can build there and parking area. So pretty exciting stuff, though. I have to tell you, to actually hear that commitment was huge.
So, and this would be built on the property that we currently own, Waldeboro.
Correct. Correct.
So would they be leasing from us, or how will that materialize?
That is all things that we have to still have discussions about. What would be the most beneficial way to proceed with that?
Of the 20,629, is that what their needs are, or
That
are
is
they?
strictly for
Yeah.
a build for the primary care, family care, and internal care, 2 physical therapy aspects of it, and a lab for blood draw.
Are we still operating under the $2 million mark, or what are we doing with that?
Well, I mean, I will be honest. I mean, that's what the voters said they would approve. We gave them those choices. I believe we can find some type of grant funding. I know this a very long shot, but Max has put into everybody he can find in the state of Maine for earmark money. And I believe our ask for that was $6 million. So we asked for our full amount. But I think we have to actually ask the voters for what you recommended.
Yep.
You know, obviously, what we asked was a non-binding referendum. No matter what we come up with, it has to go back to the voters.
Right.
Right.
No, I think it's very, not to recap, but I'd say it's a very positive step to have a possible tenant partner that could
Correct.
help us, and somebody with like the hospital would make us possibly more likelihood to get a grant, especially if they have
Correct.
certain funds to bring to the table. obviously it would come with some memorandum of understanding, lease terms, or
Correct.
vice versa. But like, I'm even thinking like all fawn grant, or like there's some variety of things based on the economics of Waldoboro as well that would bode well, especially without having a medical facility like they're proposing. And
Correct.
maybe we could get bigger than we even expected. So, I mean, it's definitely a positive, and I don't see how it could go bad. It's more of a wellness center possibly than a community center or vice versa. But there'd definitely be down times or shared times would definitely be, you know,
Correct.
useful. And you could even come up with, what's phase three going to be? Is phase three have a, therapy pool or something along those lines too? But, not to jump too far, let's get to phase one. But those are, that's obviously, the hospital's not going anywhere soon. And that would be wonderful to help figure out how to operate it. Like, that's always been my major concern or worry is, yeah, I think we can raise the funds to build it, but how are we going to commit to staffing and operating it? And I think that would take off some of that load to do some of that, and there'd be some savings from their side of things too.
Well, and that's one of the things, and I have to say, obviously their main goal is providing um, space for their care providers. That's their first goal. They were very clear on that. That has to be their first phase. So I completely understand that. But the economics of scale of sharing professionals, even in design, and then sharing space and being mindful of each other's needs. How would so say, obviously if they go first, how could a shared space be connected in a thoughtful, meaningful way? So I think we have to have, I think that's our next phase. Um, and I was hoping perhaps you could give me maybe two of your members might want to sit in um, on one of the next meetings with me. I thought that would give you guys a great overview of what's going on, and you could take it back, just so there's another, set of eyes there. Of course, Marcus is welcome, but if you could sit in, and have a conversation. I've been meeting with two of their site evaluate. Well, I guess I'm not sure what their official title is, but site evaluators. So we're just waiting for that environmental um, piece to come back to tell us what we can, how, what size can we be.
Right.
So that's pretty exciting stuff. But it was um, exciting on many levels. Even the economics of having a facility. I mean, they planned this for, I wrote this down and now, of course, my glasses dropped on the floor, sorry. 30, 34,000 visits annually.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely this pandemic has gave us a greater value for health and wellness. And, obviously, I traveled to the hospital today, having something like that, or even just something simple like blood work in town would be a great, great plus to the citizens. And again, I think it would just give us that springboard to kind of get started. Like you said, the shared services, and the long term would be, just the ability to operate for additional hours without maybe as much staffing or whatnot.
Julie, did they talk about what shared spaces they're thinking of, or are they in it indicating how many meeting rooms they need, or something that would give us, if we were to expand ours, what?
I did see an actual conceptual design. It was not given to me to share, but that was one of the spaces that came up before I even opened my mouth. And I was not my typical Julie. I was very quiet and listened a lot.
Mhm.
Good for
Um,
you.
because I was just, I will be honest, I was just I was overjoyed by just how excited they are about partnering with us. And and what we could accomplish together. And truly, it's a wonderful opportunity. So I would say meeting rooms was one. Definitely when we got into the wellness center part of it, which is what they called it, their wellness phase. There was a lot that we could, there was a lot of potential there to partner with. I'm sure, kitchen facilities, if they want to teach wellness classes, like diabetes prevention or cooking classes around health and fitness. That's also something we could partner with them in. We need a kitchen because, quite frankly, we don't have a place to cook food. If we needed to cook food, say we had a long electric outage, that's not even something that we're equipped to do currently. Obviously, the building would be we would have generator power, so that's something that we could share in the cost of a generator. All those things that you don't even think of but are costly items. So meeting space, kitchen, and like I said, I know we would like a high school gymnasium sized gym. And I think there's a little bit of room there to share. Maybe not a whole high school gym, but obviously there's some things that they might want to do that we could also accomplish with something like that in a wellness, under a wellness umbrella.
Yep.
Is there any question about the site, not just the size, but the site itself? The site itself is okay. It's just a matter of the size. Is that correct?
Well, there are wetlands that were
Wetlands.
delineated around it, and that is one of the reasons that initially the community center was stalled. There was a stream crossing that had to be made, and we want to know: do those wetlands still exist? What is the delineation of those wetlands? Plus, now that we're talking about some access from Route 1, does that change anything? So these are the questions that we have to ask is, will there be, and I'm also went to DOT, contacted DOT to make sure that we could get a curb cut where we want it off of Route 1, because as you all some of you may know, we had an application for it was called the Coffee Can. It was going to be a drive-through coffee vendor located in between Tucker Chevrolet and Dunkin' Donuts. And they had to change their location because the DOT would not honor a historic curb cut that was there. So I'm also, finding that out. So ideally, the theory is that we would have access off of Main Street, and then we would also have access off of Route 1. And then the water, sewer, and Phase 3 power would come off of 32 and run alongside of in between, I believe it's the school and the trailer park. And Max, the town planner, myself, and Bill Napower had a meeting with the EDA. I believe it was, I know it was before COVID. So that would be a project eligible for EDA funding / grant funding potentially. So that was exciting too. So, we have that capability to run those things to that site. So there's many, many reasons that site makes a lot of sense. And the original plans, I think Marcus has showed you, that was also a 2-story building built into that hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in our last meeting, we approved a RFP that we didn't send out because we weren't sure about Lincoln Health, where they already have a conceptual design. Is that something, I know Max got us some $1,700 in grant funding for an architect. Is that something we're going to work with their architect on, or should we be sending that out to get our own designs?
I liked the RFP. I would just hold off on it. I'd like to get to this next planning meeting with them and see where we're at.
Okay.
Before we go and put something out. Because like I said, there very well might be savings in sharing professionals.
Yep.
Right, right.
Sure.
So Julie, my question to you, I guess, would be, obviously this is a public meeting that's being recorded and is on the, so is this is obviously public information. Is there some sort of like, is it early for press releases? I can just see the community wanting to know maybe further information, or is that just too premature?
This is pretty much all I got at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
But and like I said, I can't, and oh, believe me, I will get, I'll get plenty of questions about it. And I'm well aware of that, but, I don't want to, we're not doing anything. This all has to go to the voters too. So, they would have to approve anything, bonding for anything. And most likely, when it comes to any type of what the financing would look like, there will be forums on it and a lot of information out there because, as you've probably seen, it gets a little complicated.
No, I just, obviously there's obviously in today's media or just today's world, there's always misinformation, confused information, however you want to put it.
Right.
And obviously this is a positive step. I would think most people, and I say that, cautiously,
Yep.
would say, yeah, this is great. Obviously it's still very early in its developmental type process.
Right.
Did the hospital mention or set goals as far as timelines of, like, is this a 3-year project? Is this a 10-year project? Or is that still, up in the air?
I believe they're on a, I would say 3 to, I don't want to speak for them. I got the impression that it was a 3 to 5 year project, sooner rather than later.
Yep.
But bearing in mind, and I didn't have this conversation. It wasn't my meeting. I'm asked to sit in on their meetings.
Sure.
So I don't know. I know that we would be hard pressed. Hopefully all the construction costs will be a lot lower by the time we're ready to go.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, I think that's good news. Does anybody have any other questions?
I would like to know if we have any idea of the new growth we've had in Waldoboro that we need to take into consideration, or potential growth that would change maybe the rec community center size. Do we have anything else on the horizon that we know about other than the current everything sold?
Max would be the better person to talk to about that. But Marcus and Max can have a conversation, and I'm sure he can send out an email to you on that.
I guess with that, I would express my interest in sitting in on that meeting. I don't know if anybody else has interest or desires, but again, a lot of it would probably be the timing, but if I knew in advance, I would try to make myself available for that.
Yeah. That sounds like a plan.
Is there anybody else, or?
I'd be available, again, depending on timing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just so everybody's clear, we haven't even started talking about, should this be a pad lease? Should it be, how should we structure it? But
Right.
the economic benefit of having a building like that in our community, that attracts people who are going to want to come and, they're going to work there. And obviously, hopefully live in Waldoboro.
No, I
So,
mean, it would be a nice anchor regardless of what else is built in addition to that.
Right.
And I think it would be a great opportunity and economies of scale to put them side by side or together or adjoined or part of the
yeah,
complex. But I mean, that would be my quick take. And obviously, it's still very early in the process, but it's, you know, either way you look at it, it's a positive step.
it is. And like I said, very early stages. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're ready to go. And we still have, this is the very, very beginning. We still have a lot to go through and um
Correct. But they also
before
offer, they also have, they've, the hospital system in general has done projects of this size before and much greater. And
yes.
they've just done the enhancement over there to Mile. So I'm assuming, there's probably even more grant writers and there's more, there's people that have expertise on capitalizing any revenue streams that we could get.
Yes. And they've been through it before. Um and I haven't even gotten to speak to those people yet. So that should be, I'm excited about that. And our team going into this, it'll be myself, Marcus, and Max will be a huge part of that, just because of his grant writing experience. So it should be a lot of fun. I am looking forward to a happy and wonderful partnership and accomplishing great things together.
It sounds very similar to what Penn Bay has done adjacent to the hospital and that professional building with pretty much the people that you identified as far as being, potentially in that building is what they just did on the Penn Bay campus. So,
Similar, yeah.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Very similar.
I think when the community at large hears about the meshing of these two concepts together, there would be a lot of excitement. And I would certainly think that they wouldn't balk at a higher price tag on the community rec center.
Well, I will also point out that when we had our 2 community forums prior to COVID, and we are planning another community forum, I'm hoping for sometime in August, that there were a couple of major issues that came up, and one was access to healthcare was a huge one. And I think this would address a lot of that. And with that goes hand in hand was some of our other problems that were brought up was how do you address poverty? How do you address substance abuse? How do you address food insecurity? So, we had these different columns of what was important in each one. And when you think about what this center could represent, both this partnership could represent is it could really check off a lot of those boxes. Obviously it's not going to be a panacea, but it really does help to address some of those concerns that were brought up during those forums, especially for some of our seniors who do have sometimes a hard time getting, I know it sounds silly, but sometimes we get a lot of calls about, I need a ride for my blood test in Damariscotta, or I need a ride to Penn Bay. So I think having it right there in town will make it a lot easier.
Where would the navigator fall under? Because I think in the forum, that was one of the things that came out with that.
Right. I'll be very honest with you. That would be an excellent place for the navigator to live. And one of the reasons, and we thought long and hard when Karen Ann started, and I would love if you guys could have her one night, maybe to one of your meetings in the future. You really should hear about what she's been working on, and what she's been doing for the community. But that would be a great fit for her to be in that location. And obviously Marcus would be in that location. When we first started, we thought about a lot of different locations. And one of the great things about her being at the town office is she's not hidden away. Um, so people can find her, but also there is an element of, we didn't want her alone, in a building. So having a building like that is wonderful for her, because then you don't know why people are there. So somebody could be going to the doctor. So somebody who might be afraid to come for help or embarrassed, if you're going into a rec center or a community center or a doctor's office, nobody knows why you're there. Same thing with the town office. Nobody knows why you're at the town office. So it would work really well, I think, to have her over there, or whoever.
In the medical section?
I would say she would be more in the community center section.
Yeah.
I mean, because she would be a town employee.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm sure they have rules, but I mean, I would say she would be, it would probably be a better fit over on the recreation side.
We've been working together for a little bit now, especially with summer rec taking off and stuff. She's been, people, families that may need assistance or to get the kids somewhere so the parents can go back to work. We've been working together on stuff like that. She has a lot of contacts and that stuff, and she actually got me started. I called, but haven't heard back about maybe getting the summer rec program licensed as a daycare facility type thing, that would allow us to take a state subsidy for families who qualify, which would help our scholarship fund that is a little depleted at the moment.
Mhm.
So
Good.
we're working with her with a lot of stuff, so it'd be good to have her close by.
They get along really well, and she does amazing work, and there's a lot of crossover, and good communication there. So things are good.
Mhm.
Things are looking up. We're happy.
Thank you for all your enthusiasm and hard work on this, Julie.
Sounds great.
I am enthused about it. I get enthused about everything. I just got to keep all the bubble poppers away. So.
I mean, with that, I guess I would say that I'd be more than willing to serve, and it sounds like Jim would be interested as well, sitting in on those. And obviously, Jim brings all the history from the first time we talked about building a rec center. So I think that would be a positive. So
it would.
Just let us know, with as much advance notice as you have, and we'll try to make that work.
Well, I have to say, because sometimes the two gentlemen that I'm working with, when we went out to the site and when I've talked about how far we gotten the first time, I get a lot of my information from Kyle. And what I've noticed was, and it's true, and I've noticed it with myself, I think something was 12 years ago. Well, that was about 10 years ago. And Kyle's like, yeah, that was about 10 years ago. And I look at him like, no, Kyle, that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think it comes with, you don't realize how much and how quickly time passes. So I think that institutional knowledge would be phenomenal.
Great.
Okay.
All right. With that, I think we'll move on to the next thing. Julie, you can stay if you'd like, but you're more than welcome to leave as well. I know you've had a long day.
I'll hang out for as long as my grandson will let me.
All right. There you go. So
Thank you.
the next line of business would be to approve the minutes from 4/28. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look those over. I know Marcus sent them out earlier. With that, if you have, I would welcome a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes from 4/28/21.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we have a unanimous. And then from there, Marcus, it really kind of ties into pretty much everything you have, both 4 and 6, 1, 2, and 3. And
Yeah, those reviews and previews are always kind of similar to what's in the report.
yeah,
So Little League is heading into playoffs next week. The minors and T-ball will have a few more games, and then the majors start playoffs on Monday. So that, last time we talked, they were just getting started with their season, and now it's over.
Wow.
So it's fast and fun, but we've had a good year so far. I haven't heard too many major things going on. Summer rec is getting closer. Numbers aren't quite what I'd hoped for. We have enough to run a camp. I might have to do a little adjustment to the schedule with the field trips just to kind of cut costs a little bit where we didn't get the revenue from the campers. We still have a month, maybe the closer we get, kids start coming out of the woodwork. But it wasn't quite what I'd hoped. But we also didn't get the staff. I hired a counselor today. I have an interview tomorrow with a program leader. But I only have enough staff, I think, to run about 25 to 30 kids. I was hoping to do a 45 kid camp. So if I do get an influx of kids, I'll have to re-advertise and hopefully get some more counselors and stuff. But it might just be a smaller camp this year. But if we can run it well and, get the word out that, it's different, it's all day, it's fun, the kids enjoy it, that hopefully the word will spread, and come next year we'll be right up to a full day, full camp.
How are you getting the word out about the camp besides school?
Yeah, so I sent it to all the schools. They put it in all their newsletters and they put it up on their Facebook pages. I've advertised on our rec Facebook page. I've sent it to the newspapers. It's on our website.
What about the marquee out front? Camp sign up.
Yeah, I'll put it out there. That one might have slipped my mind. I usually put stuff out there.
Yeah, I thought.
So yeah, that's a good idea.
What age group are you looking at for counselors?
The counselors, as long as they're working age, most of our counselors are high school kids.
High school.
In the past, if we have to do a worker's permit for a kid a little bit underage, that's fine.
Mhm.
But they have to be, I can't remember if it's 14, they have to be
Right,
with a worker's permit.
right.
yeah, from 14 to 16, they need a worker's, up to the age of 16, they need a worker's
Yeah.
permit. But other than that, they do not.
Right.
Well, you still got about 3 weeks of school.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm
This-
gonna
this
resend it to all the secretaries and make sure they're blasting it in their newsletters.
yeah,
And just try to get one more wave. But it's all set up. I got to finalize some field trips, but the schedule's set, the school's set, the buses are set. So
Good.
everything's falling into place. It's just smaller than I'd hoped.
that may change.
I
What
had
is the price this year of the camp?
it's $135 a week for residents and $150 a week for non-residents. And then there's like a $45 savings if you pay all 7 weeks up front, which we've had some people do.
That's good.
Yep. But
Any word on Ace, Marcus, what their situation is?
Last I knew, Ace was full in Warren. That was my hope. 2 years ago, Ace had 26 kids
Right.
on their waiting list after a full 50 kid camp. So they had 76 kids. They were going to open a second program right in front of in the Ace building in front of Miller. And I told them I was going to go to full time, and they said, great, we don't have to open a camp. When we get a waiting list, we'll just shove them your way. And I know I have a couple kids that have come from that way. But I don't
Interesting.
know.
Okay, good.
I don't know if, I think they're Waldeboro kids, but they tried to get into Ace and couldn't. So I'm hoping I have the word out to the Ace program and to Damascotta Y. Their Camp Knickerbocker, I think, is full. So I'm hoping all the overflow kids kind of meet in the middle and we can fill up a little bit more. But I
That'd
just
be great.
haven't seen them yet.
Right.
But we have enough to run it, and we have the right amount of staff right now to run how many kids we have, so that actually works out. But it won't, it'll be a little more strained on the money. But that, if we can offer something to the town, it's worth it.
I think it's a good investment for the future if you can get it up and running and
Yeah.
and shows quality value and the kids have a good time.
Yep.
Word of mouth will help, and each year, even
Yeah.
if you only gain 5 to 10 kids each year, before you know it, you're going to be operating a pretty good sized camp.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
6 weeks,
7 weeks.
7 weeks.
Yeah, June 28th to August 13th.
The other benefits that are coming in the future, I think, also will be with the new legislation with the monthly stipend, or however you want to look at it, as far as per student. There's
Yep.
also some bills out there in legislation for additional child care provisions coming in the future, which could help in the future as well, to get some of those kids that maybe aren't coming forward right now, or truthfully, it doesn't sound like you have the financial aid to cover all the needs. So
That's been
I
a
definitely
thing.
think if you set the base this year, there may be programs to help families be able to afford, even though $135 is still reasonable for some families, it's still a stretch. So
Oh, for sure. I've had new, I never got asked before, I think because our price was so low and with just the half day camp, but I've probably had 3 or 4 families ask if we take state vouchers or subsidy. So that's why I talked to Karen Ann about that. And I called the state to see how I get to that point. I haven't heard back. I'm going to call them again. It probably won't happen for this year, but if I can get state certified so I can accept that, then that would help a lot of the families where I just don't have the scholarship funds to be able to run a camp with that many kids on scholarship. If they can, the way talking to Karen Ann, the way the Y does it is they have to apply for that subsidy first. And if they don't get that subsidy, then they go through their scholarship program. So it helps them be able to run the camp and to reach the kids that really need it without.
And I will say, just from my experience here, is there are some state vouchers you can accept currently, even though you're not state certified. They are a bit more work, but it is possible. So.
All right, I'd love to talk to you about that because I'm learning. So.
No, we can talk off camera.
Yep, for sure.
I also, if I could just interject.
Yeah.
We also have help for that through the Philbrook Fund.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Very nice.
Yep. I got someone. I had a couple reach out to me. They taught a karate class in Rockland for years. I think they winter in Florida now, but they're going to be back for the summer. They want to run a karate class 2 hours a week, or 2 hours a day, 2 days a week for the summer. I think it was 6 or 7 weeks they wanted to do. I reached out to the school trying to get into Miller after summer rec from 5:30 to 7:30, and they said no. So I'm currently looking for a place where I can host that. So I might call the school back, but they turned me down because of construction happening, I guess. So
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? I'm sorry. I didn't. You said you were looking for what again?
Looking for a space to run a karate class a couple days a week through the summer. I had a couple that has taught karate in the area. They have a whole program to run, and they want to kind of private contract through the rec, so we can offer that with them. But I reached out to the school and they wouldn't give me the space. So I got to try to find a different space to make that work.
Can you do here?
Maybe. I don't know how, it depends how many kids we get, but yeah, I've talked with, I know Tanya, she helps with the VFW, which I think is in the process of being sold. But I don't know if that's going to go through before the summer or not. So that might be an option. The next part on my list is the YMCA also wants to run an enhanced fitness class with us for our seniors here in Waldoboro. So I reached out to the Baptist Church to see if they would have space come summer for something like that. And I also reached out to them about getting pickleball back up and going. They were very, it seemed like pickleball was pretty for sure they'd allow that back. They weren't sure about the YMCA. We were going to talk to them about it. But I didn't want to reach out to them about karate too. I don't, they're doing more than enough with the two. If they do the two, even with the one, that they're helping us out a great deal. I don't want to overwhelm them and try to take over their facility. So
What about the gym on 32? I understand there's new owners there. They might be interested.
there's not really a space in
Oh,
there.
there isn't.
No,
Okay.
I don't know what they're doing with the pool area, but the billiards where the old pool was, but the rest of the building is full of equipment and offices. So, but it's an idea, I guess.
What about the Methodist church here in town that's folding?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been in there. I don't know
I haven't either.
what they do.
I don't believe the best spaces would be the VFW hall, maybe the American Legion hall.
Yeah.
Or the Baptist, the church. But
Yeah.
with the summer, you might be able to talk them into doing something in the summer outdoors.
Yeah.
The school might be then more available.
Yeah.
Probably come September. I'm assuming the majority of the school probably would be either a project and or the union contract with the custodians. You'd have to pay a much greater rate at night. So
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna call them back. I need to stay on their good side because they're letting me run summer rec, but in my eyes, I just don't understand how I can be there from 7:30 to 5:30, but then from 5:30 to 7:30, I can't. They don't have to have a custodian there. In the past, we've run. I have the key. I run it, lock it up. The whole thing. So I just it doesn't make sense in my mind. But I don't want to ruffle feathers either. They're letting me run summer rec there,
Yeah.
but it just didn't make sense to me. And I asked about using the middle or high school, and they said no as well because there's just construction going on everywhere. Was his excuse. So I don't know.
sure. I mean, they are community buildings as well, so that's the key. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm sure maybe it's just a simple conversation, or maybe looking at some of those alternatives, but that would be a nice plus.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to run the karate class. The Y wants to run a couple programs, but the first one's probably going to be enhanced fitness. It's a senior program for seniors. I watched some of the program. It's they have like a chair and they have ankle weights and they do some stretching and different. They follow an instructor, and the Y has all the instructors. So it'd pretty much just be me setting up a space and taking registrations in Waldoboro and getting them to be able to help run a program over here.
Sure.
And then trying to get pickleball back up and going for the summer when I have the time to go run it. That won't be till July, but that's kind of my plan for the summer. So
Items for upcoming agendas. The only thing I would, or I guess not, maybe my pet peeve is, I know the Foster Field is not the town's property. And I know that just because of the path I'm in. A lot of people assume it's owned by the town. Is there any desire, or what are your thoughts on there's some somewhat minor improvements that need to be made, like painting and the turf. There's some small things that need to be dealt with before they become big things.
Yep.
What's the best way to move forward with that, or is that just pure Little League, needs to get on that?
Yeah. So I mean, when I took over for Kyle, I kind of asked what he did with Foster Field. I'm like, it's not owned by the town, but my job as recreation director is to help Little League in any way I can. So he said he always just kind of did it because no one else would. And I kind of see that now. I've taken care of it to an extent. The first year I was here, they had a great field day, spread the turf, fixed the mound, did a bunch of stuff. But you're right. It's at this point, the Little League board is 99% baseball parents, and the baseball teams don't use that field. They use Sukforth. And so we just don't have the involvement from the board. I've told them, I'm like, I don't even have time to work on my own fields that the town owns right now. So I really don't have time to work on Foster. We need to do something. And they all agree. It's just actually getting people together to do it. You know, the roof on the concession needs a few shingles here and there. Everything needs to be painted. The doors for the dugouts need to be replaced. Like it's like you said, it's a lot of little things, but it's kind of in hard shape. And they never spread the turf at all, which I just haven't had time to do.
No. Again, when I say these things, I'm not pointing fingers to anybody.
I know. I just wish I could.
I just would like to see how we could, expedite it, but make sure that just get to the point, like, and I think those conversations you've seen on support, like Waldeboro and the different things on social media, and I get it, social media, but some of those are real or some of those are true. Like, if we don't start addressing some of these things, and I know that what my example is, like, well, that's not really a town field. Like, for most people, they believe it is. So, like,
Right.
I don't know what we do, or if I obviously have two daughters in Little League that I could probably be involved as well. It's just, is there ways like we could reach out to the prison farm to see if they have workers to, hey, maybe it makes sense to not have, cedar shingles that we're going to paint. Maybe we should have vinyl and make it vinyl, or things that are, in the future, we're not going to have as many volunteers as we have even now. So
Right.
those are the things, and maybe that's more of a Little League thing, but okay, so we got kind of beat up for the field behind, the backstop and those type of issues. Those are the things I think that we as a committee sometimes get pointed back to of, well, what, you want this, you want that, but we can't take care of what we kind of have or what people perceive that we have, I guess is my point. And maybe this isn't the best place to share it, but I think those are things that we need to kind of look at as well to try to get you some help.
Yep.
or more reach out to the community to say, hey, we're going to have field day. This is the supplies we have, or whatever it is. Come join us. And then I know that's tough because only 20% of the people do 80% of the work, and everybody gets kind of tired. But I'd like to see that maybe done by next year would be great.
Yeah, I'll reach back out to the Little League board. And
Who owns Foster Field?
Foster Field's owned by Medallion Valley Little League, so the Little League actually owns it.
And their kids, the Little League boys, cannot
So
paint?
well, the Little League. So when the Sukforth Field was built, Little League baseball moved over to Sukforth, which is owned by the town, and Little League softball plays at Foster, and it's a volunteer organization. And so, I mean, I get it. 95% of that board is the one. I think the only softball person on that board lives in Warren, and they don't. They only play away games there. Warren has their own field. So there's just nobody represented on that board to say, hey, we need to take care of this.
Do we need the field?
Yeah. Well, the Little League does. And we use it. I use it myself. That's why I help take care of it.
High school uses it.
The high school practice there 2 days ago.
It's the driest field in the district.
Yeah. So yeah, Trevor knows. Trevor was Little League president. Like it just comes down. I don't know if it ebbs and flows. Maybe in 5 years we'll have all softball parents and get back to it. But
it's not. I mean, you got the folks that are still involved are some pretty big hitters that have been historically. So it's a little disconcerting, honestly.
Yeah.
We and not that it's been ignored. I mean, the fence got replaced.
Yeah.
What was it? 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, two or three.
That just yeah. It's hard because it's not a solid, consistent effort, but some pretty big things just pretty much happen. Someone just decides it needs to get done, and it gets done. When they bought the new when Lions donated the scoreboard, a couple guys got together and figured, let's just do it this weekend. Okay. So yeah. Not that it doesn't need the work. It's certainly a different dynamic than baseball for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, the dugouts and the concessions, they were put up, they're nice. It's just been so long since they've been painted or re-roofed that they
Yep.
need.
Oh
Troy's-
yeah, no, those
Troy's
two
right, they need-
shingles on the front have been driving me nuts for years.
Yeah, if we don't get it taken care of, there's gonna be a lot bigger problems there.
Well,
And
Oh yeah, agreed.
Youth group or,
I mean, anybody can work there. It's just getting Little League to organize it.
Historically, your best bet is to identify an issue. Like if it's the roof, okay, then we find out, if someone can donate the shingles or whatever, and we get a crew together on a Saturday, bang out the roof.
Right.
And if the doors need replacing, can we get someone to donate a couple doors, and you call Paul Sproul and say, hey, can you go put in these 2 doors?
Yeah,
So-
and then sometimes even like Lowe's will bring a group. If somebody was to communicate with Lowe's or Home Depot to say, hey, there's a community project here, both that and volunteers, and we'll give you some press. So there's different things, but again, I just say that
That's not a bad idea.
just to share, like, small things sometimes can derail big things. Like, oh, I don't want to support this because of you guys got 5 shingles that have been out for 6 years at the field.
It's
Yeah.
definitely not well known, the ownership and the history of that field.
Oh, yeah.
that's it. I don't think the community is aware of it. You have a lot of
No,
people.
I think very few
that are maybe
people are.
There's something to do.
And I agree with you, Troy, that I mean, I just experienced it this weekend with the cemeteries. Everybody seems to think that the town takes care of all the cemeteries, mowing them, and we don't. And that, you're right, it's an education, because you're right. They think, oh, well, you didn't do that. Well, they don't know that that's not something we do.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. It's those little things that add up, and they say, well, you can't even do that. You're right.
Yeah, it sometimes derails greater plans or whatnot. So, I mean, those are just some things, and I'm obviously more than willing to help out or guide. I mean, it just becomes limits of what certain people can do, but I guess I could try to get a little bit more involved in that project, because that's a pet peeve every time I drive by. It used to be the Ace building. That used to be what used to drive me crazy, but that's fixed. So now I got to focus on the other side of the street.
The old basketball court's gone, so.
Yeah, that was sad, but it is. I don't see it anymore, so that's good. But anybody else have any other upcoming agenda items they'd like to address? I guess with that, I would pose a question. Do we have enough to meet for July, or do we want to skip the July meeting?
You mean June or July?
June.
June, sorry, yes, June.
While we still have you here, Julie, do you have any idea when the next meeting for Lincoln Health or anything would be? And if we would have to meet, are we going to have more information by June or end of June?
I have to be honest, I don't have my calendar in front of me.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I will let you know tomorrow. How's that?
All right. So why don't we go ahead and let's schedule a meeting for the 4th week of June, like usual.
Mhm.
And if nothing's going to happen with Lincoln Health between now and then, and we don't have any new information, we can postpone till July,
So that's June 23.
June 23rd.
I'm out of town.
No Trevor. All right, so why don't we go ahead and we'll plan for that. And like I said, if we find out we're not going to have anything new to talk about with the community center, then we can postpone. But
Mhm.
plan on it for now.
All right. So with that, I'll take a motion
Awesome.
to adjourn, unless anybody else has anything else they'd like to add, or motion, Trevor?
I'll motion.
Oh, thanks.
Motion.
Second? I'll second. I don't know if I can.
Trying to let someone else have a chance.
I'll second it.
All right.
There's Jim.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. All right, well, maybe we'll
Yeah.
see you in June. If not, we'll see you in July.
Sounds good.
All right,
Good.
Good to see everybody. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.